The first time Daniel noticed something strange outside his home, it was just a faint sound of machinery at dawn. He thought maybe it was roadwork down the street. But when he stepped onto his porch, his heart sank. Fresh dirt piled high along his property line, a deep trench being carved into the earth by order of his HOA. Their excuse? Safety compliance. But Daniel knew the truth, it was intimidation. The HOA president, Karen Whitmore, had tried to push him out for months. Now, it looked like they were literally digging him in. He stood frozen, coffee mug trembling in his hand, as the bulldozer moved slowly, carving a moat around his land. Neighbors peeked from their windows, whispering. Karen stood proudly by the machine, clipboard in hand, smirking as if she owned the ground beneath his boots. Daniel's chest tightened, but he didn't speak. Instead, he remembered something none of them knew: his home wasn't just guarded by walls. He had installed hidden cameras, motion sensors, and microphones around every corner of his property. For now, he stayed quiet, letting the scene play out. He knew one thing for sure: whatever game Karen thought she was winning, she had just stepped into the trap he had prepared long ago, and in that silence, he made a choice. He would let them dig, record everything, and reveal their plan to the world. By the afternoon, the trench around Daniel's home was nearly complete. It was deep enough that his truck couldn't leave the driveway, and wide enough to cut off deliveries or emergency services. Karen strutted along the edge like a general inspecting her battlefield, calling the project necessary drainage. Her smug tone echoed across the neighborhood. Neighbors whispered uneasily, some secretly filming on their phones, others too afraid to challenge the HOA's authority. Daniel, however, simply watched from his porch chair. His cameras, tiny, concealed in fence posts, trees, and even his mailbox, captured every word, every laugh, every instruction Karen barked at the workers. The trench wasn't just about inconvenience. Karen's plan was clear: isolate Daniel, humiliate him, and force him to beg the HOA for reinstatement. But she had underestimated his patience. At nightfall, he sat in his living room, reviewing footage. One clip stood out: Karen leaning in, telling the contractor, "Make it deep enough he can't climb out. Let him feel trapped." Daniel hit pause. That one line was all he needed. This wasn't just pettiness, it was malicious intent, and as he saved the file into a hidden folder, he felt a slow, steady smile creep across his face. The trench wasn't a wall, it was a stage. And soon, the entire neighborhood would see exactly who Karen really was. The following morning, the trench work continued, now stretching in a perfect, hostile circle around Daniel's home. Delivery trucks turned back. A neighbor, Mrs. Hawkins, tried to visit but couldn't cross without risking a fall. Karen stood at the far side, laughing, shouting, "Guess he's on his own island now." But Daniel didn't react. Instead, he brewed another cup of coffee, set his phone on the table, and watched the live camera feeds. One angle caught Karen accepting an envelope from a contractor, cash exchanged quickly, then shoved into her purse. Another showed her laughing with HOA board members, mocking him, "He'll crack in days. Just wait." Daniel clipped each moment, labeling them carefully. That night, he stitched together a short video: Karen's commands, her laughter, her cash bribes. The cameras didn't lie. At 3 a.m., while the street was silent, he uploaded the video to a private folder and scheduled a release. It would only take one click for the entire community to witness what had been happening right under their noses. For now, he waited, leaning back in his chair, eyes fixed on the trench outside. He could almost hear Karen celebrating her victory. What she didn't know was that her victory was being recorded in crystal clear detail, and soon, she wouldn't be laughing. The HOA called an emergency meeting the next evening. Flyers were slipped under doors, ordering all homeowners to attend. Karen stood at the front of the community center, arms folded, voice loud and commanding. She declared Daniel a danger to the neighborhood, accusing him of refusing HOA compliance, creating drainage risks, and fostering hostility. Her words dripped with confidence, as though the trench was a noble act. Daniel, seated in the back, let her talk. The neighbors shifted uncomfortably, glancing his way, unsure what to believe. When Karen finally slammed her hand on the podium, declaring, "We had no choice but to cut him off," Daniel rose slowly. He cleared his throat. "Interesting speech, Karen. But I think the neighbors deserve to see the truth." With calm precision, he connected his laptop to the projector, The room fell silent as the first video played, Karen smirking, instructing contractors to trap him. The gasps grew louder as clips revealed her pocketing cash, mocking him, and boasting about making his life miserable. The meeting erupted in whispers and outrage. Faces turned toward Karen, who stood frozen, her lips parted in shock. Daniel simply folded his arms. "You dug a trench, Karen. But you also dug your own grave on camera." The silence that followed was heavier than any dirt piled outside his home. By dawn, word had spread across the entire neighborhood. Karen's once loyal supporters now questioned her motives, whispering about corruption and abuse of power. Some even approached Daniel's gate, apologizing, admitting they never wanted this to go so far. The trench remained, but the illusion of her authority had crumbled. Karen, however, wasn't ready to back down. She stormed onto Daniel's property edge, shouting, "Those videos are fake. You manipulated them." Her voice cracked, desperation seeping through. Daniel stood calmly, coffee in hand, cameras recording every second. "You can claim they're fake," he replied, "but you can't erase the truth. And now the truth is public." He pointed to the neighbors filming her meltdown on their phones. "This isn't my battle anymore, Karen. It's theirs." Later that day, a local news van pulled up, alerted by residents who shared Daniel's footage online. Reporters interviewed neighbors, capturing the trench, the outrage, and Karen's frantic attempts to defend herself. Daniel didn't need to say much. The cameras, both his and now the media's, told the story, and as the sun set, casting long shadows over the trench, Daniel knew the trap had worked. Karen wasn't just exposed, she was surrounded, just like she had tried to surround him. Karen's downfall accelerated. The HOA board, once silent, now held an emergency vote. Members who had sat smugly beside her the week before now distanced themselves, blaming her for acting independently. The board stripped her of authority, suspending her pending investigation. Daniel watched from his porch as Karen stormed away from the meeting, her once proud stride replaced with frantic steps. For the first time, she looked small. Contractors returned, but this time under new orders, filling in the trench, restoring the property line. Neighbors came by to shake Daniel's hand, some even offering to help smooth the ground. "We didn't know," one whispered. "We thought she was protecting us." Daniel nodded politely, though inside, he felt the weight of relief. He hadn't needed revenge, just truth. And the truth had spread faster than any trench could be dug. As Karen packed her belongings days later, avoiding eye contact with neighbors, Daniel's cameras caught one final moment, her standing at the edge of the filled trench, staring into the dirt as though it had betrayed her, and in a way, it had. Weeks later, life around the neighborhood settled into quiet normalcy. The trench was gone, replaced with smooth earth and new grass. Daniel's driveway was clear, his home no longer cut off. Neighbors waved when they passed, some stopping to chat, grateful for the courage he had shown. Karen, however, had disappeared from the community, her name now spoken in hushed tones. The HOA operated under new leadership, far more cautious and transparent. The power she once wielded with arrogance had dissolved into memory. One evening, Daniel sat on his porch, sipping coffee as the sun dipped behind the trees. His cameras still clicked quietly, but he didn't feel the same need for vigilance. He had proven something more important than winning against Karen. He had shown that truth, when revealed clearly, always carries weight. He leaned back, smiling faintly. The trench that was meant to trap him had instead become the symbol of her undoing, and as he watched the street grow calm under the fading light, he whispered to himself, "Never underestimate the power of the truth." And that was the final twist in this unbelievable HOA story. If you love the drama, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment sharing your thoughts. It really helps this channel grow.